as a little stalling tactic because we have a lot of people coming into the room right now. So hi everybody, I'm Laura Leopard from Leopard Solutions, and today we're here with our guests, Bruce McEwen. He's from Adam Smith Esquire, along with Janet Stanton. And from Above the Law, our friend Brian Dalton.
Hi.
And Phil Flora, our sales manager here at Leopard Solutions, and Charisse, who has her photo up. She's our marketing director here at Leopard. And we will, oh, our number's really gone up, so that's good.
Excellent.
So we can, I'll begin slowly, so in case, well, the numbers are still going, so that's good. You know, it's really great that there's so much interest in what we're doing, and I think you're going to find what we have to say pretty interesting. I hope you'll find it compelling, and I think we'll begin just in a second. There's lots of people coming in the room right now. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming today. This is really a great turnout for something that we are all very excited about. And what we're here today to talk about is, of course, our new Leopard Law Firm Index. This is something that we have been talking about and thinking about for quite a while with our friends from Above the Law and from Adam Smith Esquire. We have been discussing quite the revolutionary idea. We all agreed, you know, one time or another, that the current form of law firm ranking, law firm rating systems, they just weren't working well in today's environment. And we began back in 2019 talking about how a new system might work and why we feel it's so desperately needed in today's modern world. You know, we agreed as a group that what might have worked many years ago is not working as well today in today's fast-paced environment. Times change, and the system of measurement needs to change in order to deliver accurate, actionable results. And a list, like a best of list or a top firm list that can't change throughout the year, can't possibly begin to accommodate real life occurrences. So as the situation in the market changes, as the situation at the firms change, also the rating system of the firms need to change. And we all agreed as a group that self-reported data just really isn't an acceptable data set that can be used for ranking purposes. Self-reported numbers are kind of quasi-squishy numbers that may not be accurate. And that means that a lot of the currently available ranking systems have some systemic flaws. And there are many best of lists and types of firm rankings. And the one thing that they have in common is that they are all fixed in time. They show where that firm was when the data was collected. And that could have been months prior to the release of this type of list and this type of ranking. You know, a snapshot in time can be useful, and eventually it's going to be nostalgic, but it's not timely, and it can't possibly continue to be accurate over time. A snapshot just cannot reflect the true world of the moment. All it shows you is what was true in the past. Old data is legacy data, and you can't, it's just too old to be accurate, right? Legacy data means you are operating on outdated insight. And this means your internal decisions are made with bad intelligence. Your benchmarking could be skewed, and your market insights, it could be right off the mark. It's just like trying to navigate with an old, out-of-date map. It might lead you to the wrong place. Legacy data does extract a price in the marketplace. So I want to show you a real life example. When one popular ranking system came out in April, on that list was Boies Schiller. When that list came out and said this is one of the best law firms, in the country, that firm was already undergoing difficulty. So we could see in our growth decline report that they had a negative score of -9% in their growth and decline. Continue to look at the news, you can continue to see exits from that firm. And in June, they were at -18%. And if you look at the news story right on top of that, right in July, 80 partners and counsel left the firm, right? And that's what it's talking about, like what had happened at the firm. In August, their number was down to -24%. And by September, it was -31%. Yet there they were on that best of list. Old data just does not give you a correct current picture. Think about how the news has evolved over time, because there is a correlation there, right? So back in the day when newspapers were how you got your news, you got your paper in the morning or you got your paper in the evening, and that was how you got it, and that was the best that you could get. Then the first disruption came with radio. It started offering broadcasts that were more in real time, that could report on events that had just happened. Television came about. Then you had more real-time sort of feel. You had newscasts at 5 o'clock, at 6 o'clock. You had your national news. So that paper that you read that morning was out of date by the time you watched the 5 o'clock news. Then we had social media. Social media really pushed the boundary everywhere, going more for that real-time news, real-time stuff. Then all of the networks, they created secondary networks where it was news all day long. Everything that happened was right there on the tube, and the newspaper started to suffer because when news is old, it's no longer news and it's no longer important. So the next logical thing for them to do was to go online, and it was to start doing that real-time reporting, because they could push those stories out online anytime anything happened. And that's what happened. The demand for real-time news trumped everything, and it changed everything. Real-time data analytics and analysis is more important than ever. We see it every day in our everyday lives. What is safe for us to do today? What the CDC said this morning may not be what they say this afternoon. What is safe for you? What is good for you? You need to know it as it happens. That's that real-time data need. Well, the health, the stability, the success of law firms, they can change in a single quarter. They can change from month to month. And that data should be available and can be available if you use metrics that are informed in real time, just as the firms themselves are changing. So as a group, we tried to put together all the elements and put them in a pot as to what makes a firm successful. What are the key elements, and this is also key, the elements that could be measured throughout the year, to understand what is really happening inside the firms. What data points should be considered? We knew that growth was an important point that we should consider. We knew that the tenure at the firm, or the retained experience, the knowledge of the firm that was there, was also very important. The successful retention of talent. Insider rankings, what do people working at the firms have to say about those firms? That's a key element. Successful hiring, your lateral hiring, your entry-level hiring. The decline in headcount, be it by design or by accident. Financial stability, we're looking at that revenue per lawyer over a 5-year period and the trajectory of that. Looking at promotions, how many people do they promote from associate to partner? That ties in with that successful retention of talent. So we're talking about data. We're talking about real-time data that we are picking up each and every week that we could fold into this story that we're trying to tell. So if we take all of those elements, the next challenge that we had was to weight that data properly, because not everything has the same weight, nor should it. Some elements are more important than others. So we tried to put them in an order that we thought made sense, and that took us a while to figure out. But we looked at promotions to partner. We put that at the top of the pyramid. It has, a lighter weight. The growth decline in revenue per lawyer, we're looking at that 5-year period, the 5-year score. Is it going up or down? We're looking at the relative success in lateral recruitment and retention of partners and associates. The insider score, what attorneys say about their own workplace. The relative success in recruiting and retaining entry-level lawyers. All of those have a medium weight. So the light weight, the low weight is promotions to partner, and then we have the middle weights there in the center. The ones with a little heavier weight, that's that tenure, that average lawyer tenure at a firm that really speaks to the relative stability at the firm, and that growth decline in lawyer headcount. Now, we had this score for quite a while, and we thought it was delivering really good results. And then, of course, we entered into a pandemic. So we watched this score over a period of time, and we saw what was happening at the firms. And so we did make an adjustment to this score for this particular period in time. So we changed the weight of the growth decline report, of the growth decline numbers, and we're not penalizing that negative number as harshly as we were before, simply because of what's going on in the marketplace, right? We can tell from our own data that the attrition at firms has not increased tremendously. It's basically the same attrition rate that they had last year over the same 12-month period, but the difference is they're not hiring as many to replace those who have left. So you do have firms sliding in that growth decline number. However, that's a prudent move. That's a smart move at this point. That's why we adjusted the scale for this particular moment in time. So the weight of our index can be adjusted as the market changes and as circumstances change, which is one reason why we think it's so great. We'll also be changing some of the data points because we are going to be adding a diversity point to this law firm index in the upcoming months, and we can discuss that when that's getting ready to come out. So our law firm index is going to appear several places. It is going to be shown in our Firmscape report. So you will get a grade of poor, fair, good, very good. One great thing to know is that this is not just on a certain set of firms where you're going to see this score. This is on all firms. This is on our universe. So we know that for some of these firms, some of these smaller firms, we're not going to have that revenue per lawyer over a 5-year period. So that drops out of the score. For some of those firms, we do not have a completed insider survey. So that drops out of the score, but that's okay because it's been properly weighted to take care of that certain circumstance. So it's going to be on all firms in the database for a number of reasons. This score is also going to appear in our new M&A tool. This is where firms can go and look for merger partners. They can also look for small acquisitions. So here's the law firm index ranking right here. So if you're looking to pick up a small firm, a litigation boutique in Texas, you're going to make sure that you're picking up a healthy firm instead of a firm that appears to be in trouble. So all of the firms are going to have this score. If you have access to our BI suite, you just enter through your dashboard. You click on the BI suite. Now you're going to see 2 reports. You're going to see our merger tool, and you're going to see our firm index report. Once you click on the firm index report, you are brought to its face where you can simply drop in a firm name. Or you can get a list of firms. You can search by the score. I'm going to see everybody who's very good. I want to see all firms under the top 200. I want to see firms in the top 100. You can go in and put in whatever interests you in order to find the firms that you would like to explore. And you can easily benchmark your firm or a competitor against other firms as well. So in the face of the report, you're going to get to see what happened to this firm over time, what their scores were, what they are today. You're going to get to see the actual numbers that went into their score. So you've got now like a -33 in the growth decline report. You have the retained experience number, promotion number, RPL, and that ROI information. You're going to see several different designations. You'll see poor, fair, good, very good. And then you just click on that nice big blue button and it will open up all the options for you to see every number in detail. It will also benchmark your firm or the firm that you're researching against competing firms. If you don't like the list that we have here for you, no problem. You can just drop them out. You can add in whatever competitor you'd like, and you can compare the firms against each other. So we have the growth decline, we have the retained experience, we have the promotion numbers and that trajectory, the RPL differences, and then we have the ROI numbers for laterals and for new hires. We will be debuting an ROI report down the road. In that report, we consider a successful associate hire to stay at the firm for 3 years, and that's a successful hire. If it is a partner, we think they need to be at the firm for 5 years to hit that return on their investment. For this particular report, that scale's a little different, because what we're looking at and where we think this is most impactful is in recent hires. So we are looking at the last 12 months of hires for laterals and for entry-level hires. That's why you will see firms with 100% ROI. It's because they were just hired in the last 12 months, which is fine. But if you see a firm with a really low score, that's where those numbers become really impactful, because that's going to signal a problem at the firm. So our scale for this particular report is a 12-month period. And within 12 months of their hiring, if they've already left the firm, then you're going to see that ROI number go down. This is what the report looks like. And now I want to show you the actual report in action. So you have one moment. And we're just going to do a quick search so you can see it live.
And Laura, while you're doing that, just want to remind everyone, I know there's one question that came in. We'll go through the questions at the end. So.
Okay. So here's my firm index report. So we looked at Boies Schiller. We went through their history a few moments ago. So I'm going to call this firm up. So right now they are at a poor rating. They almost have like a zero grade. You can look over the last several months and you can see they were good back in November, December, January. They were still hanging in there. Then we had a precipitous drop. And in June, they went down to a poor ranking. So that's been their trajectory over time with that law firm index score. They are at -33% in the growth decline report. Here's the promotion, the RPL score, and they're at 80.95 for their laterals, which is not so great. Remember, these are laterals that came in within 12 months. And then the ROI on the entry levels, only a 73% success score. So a lot of those left as well. So that's why those numbers are meaningful. As we look, there's the growth decline. Here is where you can drop out firms here. You can just type in firms that you want to add. If you want to see numbers, all you have to do is roll over to get the detail behind the number. the retained experience, the promotion numbers. You can see those promotions going up and down. And then we have the RPL score, and then we have the ROI on laterals and new hires. So the really great thing for us is that we think we're going to be using this data in a really impactful way. Something that will keep people informed as they're trying to place people into these firms, as people are making decisions, and as a firm can go in and assess where they think their problem areas might be. And it may not be where they think they are, but hopefully this is a tool that can help some firms do a bit better, at least give information and point them in the right direction to see where they need to focus efforts to make that firm a little better. So it's been a lot of work, and it's been a very interesting time, and we're really proud of what we did. And I'd like to turn it over to Brian, who can talk about how he thinks his audience will be affected by this firm scoring process.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Dalton. I'm editorial director for Breaking Media. We're the publisher of, among other things, Above the Law. Thank you so much, Laura. And first of all, congratulations to you and the Leopard Solutions team on putting together this really exciting and I think valuable new resource. I think this is going to be a real game changer in how we all think about and evaluate law firms. So, and of course, we at Above the Law were delighted to sort of take part in helping design the methodology, along, of course, with our friends Bruce and Janet at Adam Smith, Esquire. And as you mentioned, I'm going to just share a few thoughts about how and why I think this Leopard Index is a valuable resource from the perspective of a really vital segment of the ATL audience, which is law students and potential laterals. And now, for an array of reasons, and I'm sure we all have our pet theories on this point, but it's beyond dispute that the legal profession has a peculiar and unique fixation on ratings and rankings. But from the context of a job seeker, from that perspective, these ratings and rankings are addressing a genuine need for information. It's very difficult to differentiate among large law firms if you're a law student checking them out. I mean, for one thing, they all make essentially the same claims about the collegial culture and the sophisticated work and the work-life balance. All of that sort of indistinguishable from the perspective of a student trying to decide where he or she is going to make a very consequential decision. So if you look at the abundance of ratings and rankings that are out there on the market now, I have to conclude that for job seekers who want to use them as a decision-making tool or an analyzing variable to evaluate potential employers, the current offerings really fall short. And you alluded to this in your remarks before, Laura, but if we can just bunch the most well-known ratings and rankings into some broad categories, I would start. First, we have, the, if not bogus, certainly dubious pay-for-play lists. I think we can safely ignore those for our purposes. And then we have rankings that are based on surveys of conventional and received wisdom, typically focusing on kind of a nebulous and self-reinforcing and arguably outdated concepts such as prestige. And I feel that these rankings and ratings have kind of a limited utility for job seekers in 2020 and beyond. And of course, and probably most problematic, we have the rankings that are derived from some financial metric, which is either self-reported or the result of some editorial guesswork. And these obviously everyone's interested in money, but these obviously receive an enormous amount of attention. But only in law, think about any other industry if you wanted to measure the success of an organization by how much money the management's raking in. I think at the very least, people would think that you were missing the point, probably to put that mildly. So all of these ratings and ranking schemes have limitations or relevancy problems from the perspective of a job seeker, but there's just generally a dearth of meaningful data-driven guidance out there. But with the launch of the Leopard Index, this changes. And Laura, you've already given us a great survey of the underlying data points and their significance. But it bears repeating, this is the only resource of its kind which is dynamic. And it's dynamic, of course, in the sense that it's continually updated with real-time information, which is crucial in a time of accelerated change. But it's also dynamic, and this is based on conversations I've had with you. It's dynamic in that your mindset with regard to the components of the index is an open mindset. As new data points are identified or conceived, and you referred to the imminent release of the diversity information, they can be integrated into this index if that would help create a more full and accurate picture for the user. And so I'll just sort of wrap up by noting that, we at ATL, we're very excited about helping support and promote this index. And further, we're also quite excited about a new offering of our own that we'll be rolling out in January of 2021. We're calling it the Law Firm Transparency Project. It's a complete reimagining of how we present law firm content, both on the individual profile and directory level. And its use case is for job seekers. It incorporates a number of elements from the Leopard Index, both the overall ratings as well as some of the underlying data points. And we really think it's going to empower our audience with unprecedented insight into potential employers. And absolutely indispensable to that is our collaboration with Leopard Solutions and its amazing database. So thank you, and onward and upward with all of that. So with that, I look forward to hearing from Bruce and Janet about how law firms themselves can benefit from this index.
Well, again, for both of us, Janet and me, I'd like to thank Laura and her whole team. We've had a front row seat to how much work has gone into this, and it's really like nothing we've experienced in terms of collaboration and really trying to give the industry a truly useful view. So from our perspective, as most people in the audience know, I think our firm is a management consultancy. Our only clients are law firms. One of the things that I think I can speak for Janet and me on is I kind of find the current panoply of law firm ratings and rankings infuriating, because you can talk about whether the information's reliable, blah-de-blah. There's nothing you can do with it if you're a manager of a law firm trying to make your firm better. So you're an AmLaw 100 or you're an AmLaw 200, and I want to move up in the rankings. Well, what do I do? You have no idea. There is nothing useful. There are no levers or dials on your dashboard that you can derive from ratings like that. So we have been hungry for a long time, and I think this is hopefully why we're on this call, for a tool that would give our clients and managers in all law firms at all levels, practice group, office, whatever, information they can drill down into, figure out where they're weak, where they're strong, and what to do to make their firm better. So if I can just do this very quickly. We did prepare a very brief little index.
Can you go back a slide, please, Bruce?
Sure.
Or turn it over to me.
Yep.
Do I have control? Am I in control?
You are.
Good. Yes, and this has been an enormously, not only incredibly interesting and valuable project, we've also had a boatload of fun working with Laura, her team, and Brian and his team at Above the Law. And as you've seen, there are lots of reasons to be excited about the Leopard Index, as you've heard. Again, our focus is on law firms, so we wanted to talk about how firms can use the Leopard Index to improve their business. One of the most important aspects, as Bruce was talking about, is that for firms, is that this is a diagnostic tool. That's news, and that's new. In an industry that has very little credible information. By comparison, the other ratings or rankings in law land are more like reality TV. They throw off more heat than light. They're sort of a form of entertainment without providing much enlightenment. And we want to go into why we think the Leopard Index is so exciting. It has data you can act on to improve the health of the firm, to make it a more durable and sustainable firm going forward. And that's pretty amazing. A lot of the other rankings and rating systems kind of feel like cudgels. You're kind of getting beat over the head by them. What this is more of this is going to sound a little I don't know, sweet for me. It's more of a helping hand for law firms.
Yeah, I mean, I think a cudgel is a great word. You know, you're prestigious or you're not, or you have a high profits per partner or you don't. And, you know, therefore you're worse or you're better. And that's not the real world. That's not how clients pick.
No, it's not. And it's not helpful in terms of understanding what you can improve. So each metric, we talked about this a great deal. Each metric is associated with long-term success or sustainability at law firms. And metrics will matter differently to different law firms. So as Bruce said, you can dive into the data as Laura just showed you and pinpoint specific areas to address. So you can focus your limited resources on the areas that will have the greatest impact. Another very cool aspect is that you can learn from other firms. You can look at firms that are more successful and see why are they being more successful. And yes, you can look at firms that you feel are your competitors and maybe understand where they may have an advantage or not. But also just being able to learn about successful firms in general, because in our work at Adam Smith Esquire, we have seen a consistent trend that the firms that are outperforming other firms financially have consistent traits of action, and then they're just being much more business oriented. And because the Leopard Index takes out the bias for size, you can look at all different kinds of firms and learn from them.
I'll give you a concrete example. You all saw in Laura's presentation that a couple of the metrics are the retention rate of laterals and their ROI. So let's pretend that you look at those numbers with your firm and you're not happy. Okay, so you can do a bunch of things to hopefully improve your retention ratio of laterals. One is to be more picky. One is to, you know, really, really go to work on your integration process. And then what you can do, because Laura showed you, they track this over time. That's the beauty to me of it's being dynamic. You don't get a snapshot once a year. You can look at it over time. You can see, are these measures that I've taken working?
Yeah, exactly. And because it's updated, you can track it much more quickly than you could in any of the other ranking or rating systems. Again, each metric is an indicator of law firm health. And some of these are obvious why they would be associated with health. As Laura said, average tenure speaks to the stability at the firm. Whether you're a law firm or you're a job seeker for the audience of Above the Law, you want to know if people are staying around. I mean, is it a good environment for lawyers? The insider rating, which actually comes from Above the Law, again, insider ratings, positive ones, are a very strong indicator of resilience. If people are enjoying, not just enjoying, but feeling engaged and you know, part of the firm, that leads to resilience for the firm, which certainly in these times is important. The growth decline in revenue per lawyer in and of itself is kind of a vanity measure, but growth or decline in RPL indicates how clients value the lawyers at your firm. This is in essence, an external measure. It's not an internal measure. It's what clients are saying you're worth.
It's how much your clients are paying to rent a lawyer for a year.
Yeah. And again, to the point about recruiting, some firms we know from working with Laura and her team do really well in terms of successful lateral recruiting, but not so good in terms of bringing in entry level. And again, that gives you a very strong indicator that you need to dig in and understand the reasons for the different scores. Does the process need to be changed? Do you have the right people doing it? Again, it gives you, if you will, kind of a sign that here's a problem. It's a focus problem. And then you need to dig into it. Talk to people who were doing the work, talk to people who you tried to hire, why didn't it work? But again, it gives you a real place to focus.
And I want to make one last point about the way you can use some of these measures. Let's pretend that you've decided that the thing to do coming out of this global pandemic is to really focus your firm down on a few key practice areas where clients are finding particular value and sticking with you. So if you're going to do that, you're going to slim down. So that would mean your growth decline in lawyer headcount is going to be a bad score, quote unquote, for a period of time. But you know exactly why that's the case.
Exactly. I mean, that's why each metric will matter somewhat differently at each firm. But understanding your strategies and then seeing where you're doing it or not. So thanks.
Thanks.
And I also want to emphasize that this is part of the larger business intelligence suite at Leopard Solutions, which, you know, we haven't talked about that much today, but it might be worth another webinar. But again, it's credible data you can use, which is sorely lacking in this industry.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions. Let me start with one. For the financial data that we have, there's just a question around where we obtain that information. So Laura, you just want to give a quick, it's well public information, but
It's public information for those top firms.
Right.
For the smaller firms in other areas of our database, in the Firmscape report and in the M&A tool, we are doing projected financial numbers that we believe they will accomplish this year. But for that RPL score, we are using the numbers that have been available in the public, but we're scoring it. I think it's a little bit different. So it's not so much the number itself, but it's the trajectory of the numbers over time,
Right.
and how stable those numbers have been.
Right. And then we look at it over a 5-year period.
A 5-year period. That's right. It's not just a moment in time. It's a segment of time, which gives you the trajectory.
And I think what's also interesting about the Leopard Index, it's these combination of metrics. It's not just one thing. It's more of a rounded view of a firm, because firms are not just one thing.
Exactly. That's why there are so many metrics and why we're getting ready to add one more in a couple months. And as things change, you know, we may add more after that. But to give a really well-rounded view of what's going on at the firm.
Okay.
Other question, Phil?
Yeah, there was a question around the insider information. And how we obtain that and how that's factored in.
Well, that comes from Above the Law, where they have,
We have
I'll let you speak to that, Brian.
Sure. We have an ongoing, pretty robust insider survey campaign that essentially is just perpetually being promoted and perpetually being updated. Our database of responses from attorneys at law firms is approaching about 30,000 now. But as Laura mentioned in her discussion of the data points, we don't quite cover all of the firms we'd like, so that we're going to keep looking to expand our coverage there. But it's a survey that addresses a range of quality of life issues within firms, firm morale, work-life balance, that sort of thing. And that's where we derive those ratings.
Awesome. There's a functionality question on the BI suite as far as downloading the charts. So like when you're looking at a law firm profile in the index, how can you download the charts? Laura, do you want to just touch on different options?
Yeah, at the moment, you can download each of the charts sort of individually. You may not want the whole report, but you want a piece of the report. There is a lot of data there with varying sizes and adjustments. So the easiest way was to accomplish a download right now is to let you download each individual chart so you could put it into a presentation like a PowerPoint pretty easily.
Right. And it was just launched today. So there's going to be additional tweaks and iterations to the display of it, as we move forward. There was a question about what access level. It's launched today. It is the BI suite will be made available for Firmscape historical customers throughout the rest of this year. So if you're that level customer right now, you'd have access to the index.
As a matter of fact, if you already have access to the merger tool, then you will have access to this report. So any user that now has that special access, you will have this report as well. And additional reports are going to be dropping through the rest of the year. The BI suite will probably go into some sort of beta sale mode after the first of the year. But until then, we're giving all the users that have a certain level of access, we're giving them this product so they can test it. They can give us some feedback and let us know how much they love it before it goes on sale.
Yep. And then a follow-up question on the downloading. Yes, Mark from you would be able to download the data points or the slides will include the information in there when you pull it out. You can pull it out to PDF and I think also like a picture file of some sort if you wanted to insert it into something else.
Yeah.
There is so a question as far as just to wrap it up, this is being recorded and then there's going to be slides that we'll share with all the folks that registered. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. That looks like that's it at this point.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for joining, and thanks Bruce, Janet, and Brian for all of your help and support. It's been a blast, and will continue to be. And thanks everybody. If you have any questions, please contact us. We'll be happy to talk with you about this work. Thanks, guys.
Laura, there was actually just one more follow up on the financials on the specific public sources. Mm-hmm. So,
well, we pick them up. We pick them up from news stories. We pick them up as they, come out every year. So they're all it's publicly available sources.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a lot of fun.
It has been. Thanks. And it will continue to be.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks to the audience.